The private credit market is a trillion-dollar industry, and it is underserving small businesses. The cost of origination is so high that many small businesses, which would otherwise qualify for a loan, are not worth servicing. This is the problem that Textile Credit was created to solve, and they're using CarbonDeFi as their infrastructure. The private credit market is extremely illiquid. Private credit loans are expensive, underwriting fees are so costly that small loans to small businesses are essentially non-existent. If anyone could find a way to make the private credit market more accessible and more liquid, that would be a solution to a trillion-dollar problem. Textile Credit was made to solve these problems, and CarbonDeFi is what they are using as a part of their infrastructure. This video serves as a basic overview of Textile Credit and a very basic overview of the private credit market. We'll talk about how Textile Credit uses the blockchain to reduce friction in the private credit market, and why the sale of long-tail assets needs to be done through CarbonDeFi. We'll also discuss why constant product liquidity pools and concentrated liquidity pools cannot meet the needs of long-tail assets, and how range orders and limit orders provided by CarbonDeFi do meet these needs directly. Textile Credit is a decentralized lending protocol for private credit. When someone lends through Textile, they receive a debt token, an ERC20 that represents their position. But this is not a collateralized loan. When a borrower wants a line of credit, they create a debt pool, enter their own information, and lenders can choose to invest in that pool by providing capital in exchange for a debt token, which will entitle them to the repayments made to the pool and the interest on those payments. Debt pools are created by borrowers to raise a line of credit, and current pools function as revolving credit pools. When a private lender chooses to invest into a debt pool, they are giving money to the borrower in exchange for the debt token. This ERC20 token represents the lender's share of that pool. The user who created the pool, the company that needed the line of credit, then pays into the pool at the rate they promised when creating the pool. To be clear, borrowers are the ones who create the debt pools. They are the ones who set the interest rate, and borrowers are the ones who plan the repayment schedule. This puts lenders who are interested in providing a line of credit into a position where they are able to browse various debt pools for the most enticing terms. There are several inhibitions to providing a line of credit. Confidence in the borrower's repayment plan and the terms of that repayment plan are one part, but Textile Credit has a lending graph, which acts as a historical reference for how reliable borrowers are. There is, however, a second, less obvious issue. What happens when a lender wants their money back early? What happens when the user who provided the line of credit wants to exit their position? In public markets, loans are packaged, sold, and resold all the time. It's a matter of common practice. But in private credit markets, reselling a loan is not common at all. The private credit market is extremely illiquid. And pushing this process to a blockchain provides some solutions, but it also comes with its own set of problems. Textile Credit explored several options on the blockchain by looking at constant product and concentrated liquidity pools. If a lender wanted to exit their position early without forcing the borrower to repay, then the lender could sell their debt tokens to another user, just like traditional financial institutions sell loans. But on a blockchain, creating a constant product liquidity pool or a concentrated liquidity pool for this kind of thing is a terrible idea for the following reasons. Traditional AMMs use symmetric liquidity, where one curve handles both the buying and the selling of the assets. If you tried to create a constant product liquidity pool to sell your debt position, that smart contract would force you to provide an equal amount of capital in both assets, meaning that you would have to provide funding to the sale of your own debt tokens, which is obviously not acceptable at all. Concentrated liquidity pools are a little bit better, but if you do manage to sell your debt tokens into a stablecoin, there isn't anything that stops another user from selling their debt tokens into your position. Textile lenders aren't day trading. When a lender wants out of a position, they don't want to accidentally reacquire the debt. Constant product and concentrated liquidity pools are easily targeted by malicious actors in what is known as an MEV attack. Lenders are already taking on risk by providing a loan. The whole reason that Textile Credit wanted to do this on a blockchain was to get rid of the friction of underwriting. Asking lenders to interact with a predatory system in the case that they do want to exit their loan position early is just replacing one type of friction with another. It's a complete non-starter. Some protocols have tried to create infrastructure on top of concentrated liquidity pools by making them more programmable. This is not a proper solution. It is a band-aid which adds an external contract, more complexity, more gas costs, and increases the surface area of attack. How does Textile Credit use CarbonDeFi to fix these problems? Limit orders and range orders on CarbonDeFi use asymmetric liquidity. The tokens are sold according to one curve, but they don't automatically trade back. If a lender sells their debt position, that trade is irreversible by design. Orders on CarbonDeFi are completely immune to MEV-type sandwich attacks. I do not have time in this video to explain exactly how that is possible, but in the description is a link to project lead Dr. Mark Richardson giving a very detailed breakdown of how MEV sandwich attacks work and how CarbonDeFi completely thwarts them. But I will give the following as a heuristic. The MEV bots who target liquidity pools love trades that are large and infrequent, which is the exact kind of trade that would be made when a private lender attempts to sell their debt position to another private lender. In many capacities, this kind of trade is actually the ideal target for an MEV attack. CarbonDeFi was specifically created for these kind of long-tail assets. The limit orders and range orders on CarbonDeFi were designed from the beginning with the intent of giving traders maximum control over their positions. If a lender wants to exit their private credit position early, they can choose to create a true on-chain limit order to sell their position at a specific price. Other users who are interested in buying these debt tokens do not have to acquire the entire debt position. They can buy as much or as little of that position as they want. If a lender wanted to exit their debt position, they can create a single limit order, and with just that one singular limit order, service any number of potential users who are interested in acquiring some or all of that debt position. Similarly, if a lender wants to exit their private credit position early, they can choose to create a range order, which, as the name implies, sells tokens over a range. This range order is also irreversible and immune to MEV sandwich attacks. Historically, private lines of credit are extremely expensive, highly illiquid, and nigh inaccessible to small businesses because of the costs of underwriting. Textile Credit is standardizing the process of loan origination through smart contracts to drastically reduce friction in the loan origination process. Through Textile Credit, users can get a private line of credit, but there's a problem. How do we provide an off-ramp for lenders who might need to exit their positions early? CarbonDeFi is a protocol which allows long-tail assets to be easily traded through the use of true on-chain limit orders and range orders. This means that lenders now have a decentralized way to offload their debt tokens at a specific price in a fashion which is irreversible and immune to MEV. Textile Credit provides the on-ramp for lenders to extend private lines of credit, and CarbonDeFi is the infrastructure which lets them exit those positions early should they so choose. The terms for these loans, taken through Textile, are standardized through the use of smart contracts, and the sale of these debt tokens from lender to lender is facilitated by CarbonDeFi.